My name is Janita, and you're watching DONTAE'S Boxing Nation.
DONTAE'S Boxing Nation. I'm over here with Julian J-Rock-Williams trainer Stephan Edwards on the phone with me. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, Dante?
All right, man. Now, you know, outside of Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev and you had Thurman versus Porter, I personally think that Julian Williams versus Jermall Charlo, that's like one of the most significant fights of the year. Now, the fans, they keep asking me. They keep saying, Dante, what's going on with that fight? So I said I had to, call you up and see what's going on with the fight. Why is it taking so long for the fight to get done?
Well, the fight has been agreed to on our part, and it has been agreed to since they started talking about the fight, which was about a year ago. I just recently was told that we do have a date. We do have a site. I can't release it yet. An announcement should be coming up within the next week or so. And the reason why the fight is being pushed off, Dante, is just simple. Team Charlo's been pushing the fight back. And that's just the truth, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and act like it's something extravagant, because it's not. They just been pushing the fight back. And if you don't believe me, you can call the offices of the IBF and they'll tell you the same thing.
Yeah. So you believe that he just had that respect level for Julian? Like he knew that this was a major step up in competition? That's how you feel?
You know what, Dante? I don't want to speak for him in that sense because I don't know. I don't know how much, people start saying things like fear and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. All I know is that Julian volunteered. I'll take you through the timeline and you can make your own judgment. Julian volunteered to fight him in Texas, in Houston, after he knocks out Luciano Coelho in September of last year. Jermall decided to fight a fighter by the name of Wilkie Canford in his first title defense. I get it and I understand that everybody wants to get like that showcase title defense and a fight where they know they're going to make some money, but the guy is not going to be a big risk. All right? So then Team Charlo went to the IBF and asked for an exemption to not fight Julian Williams so they can fight Austin Trump. This is what they asked for.
Interesting.
Right? And that happened in May of 2016. The IBF ordered for the fight to happen on May 30th. The IBF demanded contracts and, or the fight go to purse bid. The purse bid was canceled because the fight was agreed upon. And then Team Charlo in July said that he had to get LASIK surgery and he needed 60 more days to fight. It took 60. It will take 60 days for the LASIK surgery to heal. Now I don't want to say it's fair. I don't know what it is. Sometimes the guy can flip fight off for different personal reasons. The only thing I'm saying is the fans are frustrated. People like you are frustrated. Everybody's asking the same question: how come the fight's not happening? You guys have to ask Team Charlo, or you ask the IBF, and they'll tell you the exact same thing I've been telling you. They've been pushing the fight back. Now, if the fight gets pushed back again, from what I'm told, they're going to struggle. And then you guys can make your own conclusion. But don't believe all of this stuff about, we're waiting for this and waiting for that. We're not waiting for anything except for Charlo to get ready to get in the ring, because there's nothing else to wait for when you become the mandatory. And that's the point of becoming a mandatory, so you can enforce the rules as far as making a fighter fight you. Because if you're not, then the guy can choose not to fight you and make a voluntary defense. And there's a difference between a voluntary defense and a mandatory defense. And I've been saying this and I'll say it again. It's really ironic that when Jermall was defending his title against Austin Trump and against Wilkie Canford, and none of these things were coming, but when it was time to defend against Julian Williams, it was one reason after the other on why he couldn't fight him.
Yeah. And if you could clear this up, just for the, some of the heads that tried to blame it on Al Haymon, did this have anything to do with Al Haymon, the delays?
I don't know. I would assume it doesn't. Al Haymon didn't get LASIK surgery. Jamal Charlo got LASIK surgery. So, Jamal Charlo asked for the exemption to fight Austin Charlo. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people want to say, it's easy to hide behind a big figure in boxing and say, well, my people don't want me to fight him or this, that, and the other. I don't know the conversations that happen between Jamal and Al Haymon. I'm hearing that Jamal has been shooting a reality show for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. He needed some time for that. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to blame Al Haymon. We're with Al Haymon. Al Haymon has never told me he don't want us to fight Jamal. Al Haymon is the one who, got us ranked number 1 by the IBF. Julian had to earn it by winning fights. But your people is the one who called the sanctioning bodies and move you and apply for you to get up in the rankings. So he didn't want us to fight Jamal. Why would we be ranked number 1 in the IBF? Sometimes that's little excuses, that people make because they can hide behind that. And Al Haymon don't give interviews, so it's easy to blame him for something because he's never going to get a chance to defend himself.
Well,
I'll tell you what, Al Haymon not keeping Julian from Jamal Charlo because I'm talking out in the open. We want to fight. Al Haymon can't tell me don't fight Jamal Charlo. He can't tell me don't train Julian and knock Charlo out. That kind of talk don't happen. So when people say stuff like that, it's easy to accuse a man of something Dante that can't defend himself or chooses not to talk to the media. So somebody can say Al Haymon, saw a Martian, or Al Haymon gave me $10 million. Who's going to be there to refute the story? Because he don't give interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you set the record straight. I'm glad you set the record straight on that. So, well, now though, Stevens, now that the fight is almost official, and I know there's no guarantee, do you have a history? Does Julian have any type of history with Jamal Charlo? Like, did he come up watching him in the amateurs? Did he almost fight him? Did he ever spar? Any type of history together?
That's a great question. They fought probably on the same card maybe 4 or 5 times as we were coming up. We both signed with Al Haymon at around the same time, around the end of 2012. So they have a history, but it's more like, if you go to the fights and you go to the lobby of the casinos, the coaches are the fighters and the fighters are at the weigh-ins. So they were pretty cordial and they were pretty cool coming up. But as time goes on, you understand that you're not 11 and 12 and 0 no more. You're getting to be 18, 19, 20 and 0, and eventually you're going to have to fight. And I think that's where their relationship went. At one time we were, they were pretty cool, and when Julian fought Hugo Centeno, Jamal was rooting for him, and they would shake hands and they would talk, and everything was cool. But you can't be so cool with a guy that you're going to fight. And if you can, you know what I mean. But their relationship never stopped Julian from being willing to fight him. I can't speak for Jamal. But, we had a relationship. I'm cool. I speak to Ronnie Shields, you know what I mean? I shake his brother's hand. Jamel, the other twin, it's not like hard feelings, but it's a fight at the end of the day, and Jamal is the world champion. And the amateurs, no. I think Jamal fought juniors, and he turned pro like at 17 or 18, so they didn't really have a chance to fight in the amateurs. They did almost fight when they were about 7-0. I got a call, and, nothing really came out of the fight, but it's not really a rivalry on their part. I would say it's more of a competitive rivalry. It is a rivalry, but it's a competitive rivalry because people at the PBC and people that are with Haymon and people that are with Showtime, for some reason they always compare those two kids and always wonder which one is the best and who would win the fight. So that comparison has been going on since they both were getting signed and they both were fighting on the same cards. They would always fight after one another, and it would be like a side-by-side comparison. And, now the fight is finally coming to fruition.
Who's better, Jamel or Jamal, and how do you beat Jamal?
Well, I'm not going to answer how you beat him because obviously we got to fight him, and I don't want to get game plan in the way.
Got you. So who's better then, Jamel or Jamal?
Because he's the harder puncher.
Hey, hold on, Stephen. You were breaking up. I didn't hear nothing you said. What's going on, Stevens?
Hey, I don't know what happened. The phone just went out.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, you broke up when I was asking you that question, though. So, yeah, who would you say is better, Jamal or Jamel?
You ready now?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Most people pick Jamal because he has more knockouts. I'll just say this. Let's let their careers play out a little bit more, Dante, because I think it's not, when you judge too early, always become foolish. So,
Hey, Stephen, you breaking up.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now, but yeah, it went out for a good couple seconds.
Right, I'm going through the part. I used to think that Francisco Bajado was the best prospect I had ever seen.
Yeah.
And, look where his career turned out. So I will say this, I don't consider Jamal to be better than Jamel because he has more knockouts. I think that Jamel has fought much better competition, but for some reason, Jamel has, received more accolades. And I don't really understand it or get it, but I definitely think that Jamel has had a rougher road. He got a title shot last. If you just look at their records, he fought maybe 3 or 4 undefeated prospects, and Jamal never had to do that. I don't know why Jamel was much tougher. Maybe their coach knew something about one of them they didn't know about the other one, but I want to let their careers play out before I say which one is the best.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And yeah, Francisco Bajado, he was a badass prospect. I remember him coming up. He was a beast, man.
He was as talented as guy I'd ever seen, you know what I mean? And then he never panned out. So I'm real careful about saying how good somebody is before we get to see him at a certain level because some guys just can't, they just don't have the longevity to kind of just be able to exceed at the top level for whatever reason, whether it's their personal life, whether it's the competition getting higher, they can't keep the politics. It's a lot that goes on in boxing, so I try not to anoint somebody until you reach a certain level, you know what I mean? And Jamel and Jamal, they still young in their career. They got a lot of fights to go, So before, and it's kind of unfair to have a twin and everybody's asking who's better, I don't dislike them at all, I think they're both nice kids. So I'll reserve that judgment until, Julian's going to fight both of them, Dante. So I'll let you know that after he beats both of them, then we can figure out which one was the best.
I heard that. So what do you think about Canelo Alvarez? Do you think he would ever fight, J-Rock or the twins? What do you think about him overall?
Well, that's 2 different questions. Do I think he'll fight Julian? Sure. I personally asked the people at Golden Boy for the fight. I personally asked them. I see Bernard every once in a while, and Bernard works at Golden Boy. I've asked him. I've asked Eric Gomez. I've asked Robert Diaz. We'd definitely be interested in the fight. I think that's the style matchup for Julian. I think he schools him. Will he fight him? I think Canelo will fight. I think Canelo's in a tough spot with the ducking of Triple G because I think his people are keeping him away from Triple G because they figure that he's probably going to lose. And Golden Boy don't have the same amount of prospects that they used to have. So if Canelo loses, their company will be in big trouble. You know what I mean? They don't have the roster that they used to have, so they got to be careful with matching Canelo with just anybody. But there's a lot of young, athletic kids that are at 54, like the twins, like
Andre,
and stylistically, those young, that urban rhythm will give Canelo hell. You know what I mean? He had a tough fight against Trout. He had a tough fight against Lara, and all these kids are bigger and better punchers than those two. So it will be tough for him to have to go through all of those fights. You know, but I think Canelo is a very, very good fighter. You know, he's almost approaching the point of him being a great fighter. He's fought a lot of tough fights. He's won just about all of them. He's very exciting. And Canelo got a high skill level. I don't underestimate him. You know what I mean? He does some really good stuff in the ring. So I think highly of Canelo as a fighter, and I got a lot of respect for him. I just believe that Julian is better if we was to ever get a chance to get the fight. And what people don't understand is who's the more marketable fighter and who sells the most tickets. That fighter gets more privilege as far as picking his opponents.
Yeah.
You know, so we may not ever get a chance to take that fight because that doesn't always mean who's the best fighter, and there's a huge difference.
Well,
so I will hope one day that we could if we beat the twin. We'll offer him the fight. You know, but Canelo's in a position where he can fight whoever he feels like fighting.
yeah, but he's in a bad position right now because, like you said, he just said that this would be his last fight at 154. But if he goes up to 160, he's going to be pressured to fight Golovkin. If he stays at 154, he's going to have to answer to Demetrius Andrade because that's really Andrade's belt. He had that WBO belt, and they stripped him of it. So he's going to come after that belt aggressively. So it'll be interesting to see what Canelo does next. And he said he's not going to fight Willie Monroe.
Works, man. These guys got a lot of power. You know, when Demetrius Andrade was stripped of the belt before, that doesn't, just because he's Canelo's mandatory, that doesn't mean he's going to get a title shot right away. He's the mandatory over there at the WBC for Charlo's belt. You don't see him fighting him right away. Boxing is a lot of politics. Julian has been the IBF mandatory since March, and we still don't have a signed contract against Jamal. And sometimes with the fans and the media, they get upset about things that go on behind the scenes, because they don't really know, but it's a lot of politics that's involved in boxing. And I know Demetrius Andrade will be breathing down his neck, but Canelo could avoid that fight. It's no big deal to him, man. You see what he did with Triple G with the WBC?
Yeah.
He can do whatever he feels like doing.
Yeah.
Because he brings the money in.
Yeah. He just has to deal with the backlash, but like you said, at least he...
You got it, but guess what? Even the sanction bodies, they cater to the person who brings the most money because they get a percentage of the money. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if they're taking 2 or 3% and the sanction fees, obviously you don't want to take 2 or 3% from the guy that's making the most money. So even the sanction bodies get the, they'll extend a little bit of leeway at times at certain times doing certain things. You know, and I'm not saying that they won't enforce it. I'm just saying that when people get excited that he may fight Demetrius Andrade because Demetrius will be the #1 contender. Man, that fight, they may put that fight off for 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what's so crazy, Stephen, is when you really think about it, everyone always says, yeah, certain fighters are the money fighters. But normally when they fight an undefeated, especially an American slick undefeated fighter, that's usually when everyone tunes in to watch the fight. Like Canelo did his best numbers when he fought against Trout, when he fought against Lara. Nonito Donaire, to this day, he did his best numbers when he fought against Guillermo Rigo. And they said Guillermo Rigo, couldn't sell tickets. So, it's a lot of politics, though, like you said, though.
I agree. I think that sometimes when somebody says, well, this guy don't sell tickets or that guy don't sell tickets, I think it's an excuse. Because if you are a true ticket seller and you're a true star, the fans want to see you tested versus certain people, and you're going to sell tickets regardless. Look what Manny Pacquiao did against Joshua Clottey.
Yeah.
Joshua Clottey can fight, but he's not a household name. You know what I'm saying? You can still. You brought up Julian fought on the undercard of Canelo Trout. That was a huge crowd. Trout was undefeated. It was a unification fight, and Trout's not the most marketable guy in the world, but it's all about the promotion and the matchmaking. But sometimes people use that as an excuse to not make certain fights.
Yeah.
Even the best guys, they need a dance partner. Canelo can't go fight Victor Ortiz in his next fight. You know what I mean? He has to fight somebody credible. And listen, I think Liam Smith was a credible opponent. I don't think Liam Smith is a bum at all. I don't think he's as good as the other kids that we mentioned. But he is a credible opponent.
That's what it is. He was a credible opponent. He just wasn't on the level of all the other fighters in the division. That's all it was, you know.
Canelo's people picked him for obvious reasons. He came straight to him. He wasn't as fast. He's not as athletic. He's not as explosive. He has an undefeated record and the belt. So the good matchmaking in them said, okay, we'll pick this guy, and that's what he did.
But let me tell you what Canelo's trainer Reynoso just recently said. He just recently said they're not going to fight Willie Monroe because they don't like his style. They said, you know, they're going to have to go after him, and he's a counterpuncher. They're going to have to force him to fight. And they were basically saying they like the Liam Smith style. So it sounds to me like he ain't trying to fight nobody who has a counter-punching or rhythmic type of style. But at the same time, Canelo, he just admitted that he's a counter-puncher. So he's okay to be the counter-puncher, but he doesn't want to fight a counter-puncher or a fighter with a lot of rhythm and coordination. That's what it sounds like to me. What do you think?
I mean, throughout the history of boxing, the urban rhythm, the style that a lot of the African Americans use has probably been the most successful style. Obviously, you know, black fighter can lose just like any other fighter can lose. Willie Monroe has 2 losses. Well, any fighter can lose. But, you know, that's not a style. A counterpuncher wouldn't want to fight a counterpuncher because at that point, whoever is the longest and whoever is the fastest will probably get over because...
And the smartest, yeah.
You got it. As far as Willie Monroe specifically, I don't know if he's earned the fight with Canelo. You know, I don't really... But I do... I think it's a mistake for Canelo's people to come out and say stuff like that. If a style bothers your fighter, I say that's not something you should want to say out in the open. You know, you don't just, it's just, to me, it's counterproductive to start saying you want to fight a certain style. You know what I mean? Because you can't tell a fighter how to fight you. It's a boxing match. You're there to win.
Exactly. Thank you.
Doesn't have to sit there and let Canelo just beat on him and punch him in the face. Now, at the same time, you know, the networks may not want Willie Monroe to fight certain people because at the end of the day it is entertainment and it is matchmaking and you don't want anybody that's not putting any violence on the other person. So I get it and I understand it. But Willie Monroe is not a puncher. You know, so fighting in a very aggressive, violent style, it doesn't benefit him. So he has a right to fight any way he wants to fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's silly when a trainer or a manager says, well, this guy is going to run. If you feel like that, you should keep it behind closed doors and just not fight him. It's not like Willie Monroe is mandatory. It's not like Willie Monroe is a huge star. It's not like that people are even mentioning Willie Monroe's name with Julian or Demetrius or the twins as far as when is Canelo going to fight him. Nobody's beating the door down for him to fight Willie Monroe. So we don't even have to mention Willie Monroe.
Yeah.
But when he keeps mentioning things like that, what happens is everybody knows Canelo does not like fighters that move because he doesn't have the best feet in the world. So when he gets into a fight, only thing these kids are going to do is they're going to move and make him pick up his feet. So I think it's just silly to keep mentioning things like that. It's just counterproductive at the end of the day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And for the record, I don't want people thinking that I'm demanding the Willie Monroe fight because, like you just said, that's not a fight that I'm crazy about or anybody is crazy about. I only brought it up because Canelo, he talked about the dude's style. Now, the last thing I want to ask you, and I'll let you go, man, is Gennady Golovkin. What did you think about Gennady Golovkin performance? And second question, do you guys see yourself moving up to middleweight a year from now or whatever?
I don't know when Julian's going to move up to middleweight. When we get the right offer or when he can't make 154. Right now, he hasn't even gotten a title shot at 154 yet.
Yeah.
So we definitely, we won't be moving up anytime soon. But he definitely wants to fight at middleweight. And I don't shy around certain things, Dante. He wants to fight Golovkin. We're not going to be running and acting like Golovkin is the boogeyman because once you show a fighter that kind of respect, you've already lost the fight. So that is a fight that we want. And Abel Sanchez has actually mentioned Julian's name, so we would it. Just let us get a title shot at 54 first,
Yeah.
and see how things work out, and then we can bump Golovkin. I believe that Golovkin is a great fighter. I'm not overly critical of him. You know, you can nitpick any fighter in the history of boxing and find out something wrong with him. So I'm not going to nitpick the guy. He's a great fighter. He had an outstanding amateur career. He seems to be a horror movie at 160. Nobody wants to fight him. Guys leave the division and vacate their belts and find all kinds of excuses not to fight him. And he's knocking world-class guys out. He's breaking their faces, and he's beating them half to death. He's a great fighter, but we're willing to challenge ourselves and fight him. You know, when people want to nitpick him and say this and say that, it's funny. Middleweight start tweeting things after they seen Kell Brook won 2 rounds. Before that, they didn't even want to say his name in interviews.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you just gotta just use your common sense and think about it. And he's doing something that's not easy to do. And I got a lot of respect for Triple G, Tom Loeffler, and Abel Sanchez. They're trying to unify 4 belts, Dante. It's almost impossible in this era unless you win the titles all on the same night. Because if you're not a mandatory, like Billy Joe Sanders don't ever have to fight him, and he can't be forced because Gennady Golovkin is not rated by the WBO because he has titles and other sanctioning bodies. So to unify 4 belts is almost impossible. It took him 3 years just to get a shot at the WBC belt, and Canelo ducked him and threw the belt away and said, man, you can just have it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they don't want to do that, that involves no matchmaking. That involves no, nothing slick as far as that style is good. That's like being in the Super 6 tournament like what Andre Ward did. That's fighting the best available guy who happens to be the champion. So you got to respect a dude like Gennady Golovkin, because who else is walking around getting all 4 belts in this era? Nobody. So I respect him. I think he's a great fighter, but he's not unbeatable. No man is unbeatable. We have our work cut out for us because he's nothing to play with, but I think Julian could beat him.
And on top of that, I think he's a great fighter too. I've already said that he's the best middleweight. My only quarrel I have is when he is looking for opponents and he's saying nobody will fight him, and you have people like Edeslani Lara calling him out. You have people like Ward who called him out, when he was talking about fighting Carl Froch and Chavez at 168. Only when he was talking about that, you had these guys. And I just personally think that if he would have beat someone like that, which I know would have been hard, that would have catapulted his career, But now he wants to unify the belts. That's all good. But there are other opponents out there that are going to be major signature wins for him. And I think, those opponents are most likely, the Danny Jacobs, and once again, the winner of, if he moves up, the winner of Kovalev versus Ward, or even the fighters at 168, James DeGale and all of them. So if he unifies the belts and he moves up or whatever, that'll be cool. That'll be cool in my book. I have no problem with that. But I don't
have a problem with that move with unifying the belts. Your body can only go but so high up in weight. Like Julian can't fight past 160. He don't have the body frame for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how when Golovkin walks around at and all that kind of stuff. People can lie about what they walk around at, what weight they walk around at, and things like that. But everybody can't move up. So I really don't get into that because I don't know him personally enough to get all of that, just to be able to make an accurate assessment of that. I do think that they made a mistake when they said they'd fight anybody from 54 to 68. What they should have said was they'll fight anybody at 160 because they didn't want to fight Andre Ward. I understand why. He's bigger and he's more technical. And if the bigger guy is the more technical guy, you're going to have a tough time. So I get it, and I understand why they didn't want to fight Andre Ward. But they shouldn't have said they will fight everybody at 168. That's why I'm careful when I say everybody at 160 is afraid of him. Not everybody in the world is afraid of him because he can get fights. He just can't get the fights at 160. So there is a difference. And you're right, Aaron Lau has been calling him out. I wish he would call his bluff and take the fight. That would be a good fight.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, just once again for the record, nobody was criticizing Golovkin, including me, until he said that he'll fight anybody from 154 to 168. You know, like you said, if he would have never said that, and I just said that to Abel Sanchez a couple days ago, we were talking, and I told him, I said, that's the reason why no one is asking Keith Thurman or Errol Spence to move up. Number one, they're in stacked divisions, so they already have competition there. And number two, they're not saying they're going to fight anybody from 140 to 160, you know, so yeah, so that was the only reason he got criticized. But I truly believe, Stevens, before I let you go, you know, this fight that you guys are about to take, I truly believe that that is what you call a signature type of win. You guys are going up against an undefeated fighter who is considered one of the best fighters in the division. He's never lost before, you know. So I just think when you compare that to some of the guys, and once again, I'm not trying to say discredit Golovkin a whole lot, but I'm saying if you compare an opponent like Jamal Charlo to the Willie Monroes and the Kell Brooks and stuff like that, I think that's more of a signature win. And I think that's the type of win that Golovkin really needs to catapult his career and get everyone's respect. So
I agree. That's why I've been asking for the fight, Dante. You know, my guy would be listed as an underdog, a slight underdog in Vegas.
yeah,
I agree. It's the kind of fight that I want to challenge myself with. We just, you know, they just have to. I'm told that the fight's going to be is done this year. You know, that's all I really can say. I'm just hoping there's no more nonsense. I don't even want him to vacate because Julian doesn't want him to vacate. He wants to fight for a real title. He doesn't want to fight for a vacant title. He wants to fight Jamal because he does care about his legacy. So I'm hoping that the fight comes off for more than one reason. But the last time we was in this position, Austin Trout acted like he wanted to fight, and then, you know, there's some other stuff behind the scenes that I don't even really want to get into. So I don't, you know, I never get too excited when it comes down to a proposed fight because in this era, a guy can find a different reason or make up an excuse or do anything and not really be held accountable for not fighting. So, you know, I have faith. I've been told by, you know, the man up at the top of the food chain that the fight is happening before the year is out. So that's all I can do is go by that. But we'll see in the next couple of weeks if you guys hear an announcement, or maybe you give Jamal a call and ask him.
yeah,
You know, everybody always asks me and Julian, but and you know what, Dante? I don't want anybody to ever take anything I say without researching it. Call the IBS. They talk to you over there, and they'll tell you everything that I said in chronological order is the 100% truth. You know, and maybe they can get some clarity on it. Because right now, we just waiting and standing in the gym and just hoping and praying that everything works out and we can get this fight, or they'll strip him because it's been too long. He's been the mandatory since March the 5th, and he deserves his title shot.
Hey, man, once again, well, I'm just glad you cleared it up. You know, you pretty much let it speak for itself by putting everything in chronological order and explaining it, you know. So I thank you for your time, man, and I hope you guys get the fight. The fans, they want to see that fight real bad. Anything else you want to say to the fans, man?
No, I just hope everybody tunes in or comes out and supports the fight. You know, everybody always says that a lot of black fighters don't sell tickets. Everybody's asking me and calling me and asking about this fight. Once the fight gets announced, I hope everybody supports the fight and tunes in. And if you don't tune in, I want them to show up for the fight because there's going to be a great fight between two young, undefeated, really, really good fighters. Absolutely,
man. Absolutely. Well, once again, thanks for your time, man. And I'll catch up with you maybe when it's officially announced. You and Julian.
Yup, you got it.
All right. Take care, Stephen.
All right.
All right, man.